Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. My name is Duncan Wood. I've been involved in multi-level marketing for many years now. When I first started, I struggled like a lot of people do. And I was very fortunate to have a very good friend of mine who came to stay with me in my house. And I actually opened up to him one night. I'd been in multi-level for a couple of years and I was struggling. I actually began to dislike it because, as I said to him, I actually began to be thankful when somebody didn't answer the phone. And the reason was I was getting rejection, and who or if anybody likes rejection. And he said to me, I'm going to sit down with you tomorrow and I'm going to teach you what to say and what not to say. Now, before I tell you that, the first thing that I learned was, and I heard this in many trainings I went to, I used to hear it time and time again, but I never actually did it until I had this conversation with a friend of mine. And one of the things people are told to do is to write a list of everybody and everybody you've ever known in your lifetime. And very few people do it. And I was one of those people. I never did it for years. And then one day I actually decided, right, I'm going to do this properly. So I actually sat down and they taught me to write a list of everybody. Now, this is one of the things I've realized is why people don't do the list. I've actually sat with people in my house who say to me they want to make some serious money. So I'm going to spend time with them and work with them. And the problem is, first of all, I need them to do a list. So I say to them, go away, come back tomorrow or in a couple of days, we'll arrange to meet up again and come back with your list. A list of everybody that you've ever known in your life. And this is what people do. They come back with a list of about 30, 40, sometimes 50 people. And I say to them, so is that everybody you've ever known in your life? And they say, yes. And I know it isn't, because what they've gone and done is the mistake everybody makes, is they've gone and done a list of people they think would be interested in whatever it is you're about to show them. And that's not what they say. They say, do a list of everybody. And I mean everybody. So let's just go. And now, these days, people don't write on paper. They do everything on a computer. So it doesn't matter where you put this list, but you've got to start thinking about everybody you've ever known in your life. So the first thing to do is pick a category. Like, as an example, start off with your family. Write down your mum and dad, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your cousins, your nieces, your nephews, everybody that you can think of that's related to your family. And when you've exhausted and you think you've written everybody down, then speak to your mum and ask them to remind you of long distance relatives that you might have forgotten about. Or if you can't think of a person's name, just write down uncle that we met in the last wedding or the funeral, and just put something down that will remind you, because you will remember one day that person's name, or you'll be speaking to somebody and you'll remember it. And that list just goes on from family to friends to schools, colleges that you went to, universities, organizations that you're with. The list never stops. Now, you need this list in a place that you're never ever going to throw away or lose it. So a computer is a good place to have it. And you never ever cross anybody off that list. And you always keep adding to that list. So I'll give you an example. Every day we all meet new people. You might be out shopping and you get chatting to somebody. And they might ask you, where do you live if you're local, and you get chatting to them. And the objective is get a list of names of people. That's it. Don't worry if you don't know the phone number. Don't worry about if you can't remember their surname or you can remember the first name. It doesn't matter. The objective is a list. They do reckon that every person knows at least 2,000 people. But the reason why most people never do it is because they just put down a list of people they think would be interested. And the reason is because so many people think that you're going to go out and sell something to your family or your friends. And it's actually totally the opposite. Because when I tell you what you do say and what you don't say, you'll realize what I mean. You're not even asking people directly. So first and most important thing is that list. And if you could see my office, I have files upon files of cards. And on those cards are just names of people. If I can, I try and get their business card with their name and phone number on at least, or an email address. And I just catalogue them. I'll put a little note on, met the guy in Manchester Airport while we were flying to Germany or wherever it was, just to remind me something about that person, because I am going to phone them at some point about something. And all I want is more and more people I can contact. So I make it a goal every time I'm out socially, and Christmas and New Year is the perfect time, because what happens, you all get together with friends and family, people you haven't seen for a long time. That's the time to collect names of people. That's all you want. Now, I hope that helps in that sense. Now, the next thing is, what do you say to people? Because this is where I failed miserably. Because as an example, this is what I did, or I used to think of somebody that would love what I'm about to tell them. I think that's what I thought. Okay, so I'd phone them up really excited. You know, I found this amazing business, and they would say, what is it? And I'd start talking and explaining to them. The first thing people say is the name of the company, and they say, what's that? And you say, oh, it's this and this and this. And the next minute, the more you say, the more questions they ask, the deeper the hole you dig in yourself, and you get to a point where you don't know how to explain it because you're new. And it's fatal, and that's the biggest mistake most people make in multi-level marketing. Now, I've gone away from multi-level marketing, but the lessons I learned taught me what to say, what not to say. And to be honest with you, the biggest mistake people make is they think that they have to go out and sell something. Or I hear people say to me, how do I convince my friend? You can't convince people. You've just got to get good at showing people an opportunity, whatever that opportunity is. It doesn't matter, because either way, it's exactly the same. And you can change this around. I'm going to tell you in a minute what I say and what I don't say. And all I do is keep it really, really simple. So simple, it's idiot proof. And that's the problem. Everybody complicates it. I speak to people and they say to me, well, I haven't spoken to anybody yet because I need to understand it. To be honest, they become more dangerous than people that don't understand it, because what happens is they study it and study it until they become an expert. And what do? They go and vomit all their information over their best friend, and their friend's sitting there going cross-eyed and thinking, I couldn't do what he's doing, because he knows everything about it. It's got to be so simple that anybody can do it. Anybody, literally. And the key is, with any networking or any business, is whatever you do with somebody else, that needs to be so simple it's duplicatable. Otherwise, it's just going to die. You want to show people and remind people, do you remember what I said to you when I showed you this business? And if what you're doing is not duplicatable, stop doing it. And there's something else. People often carry on doing the same thing, and yet they expect better results. The sign of madness, when you keep doing the same thing and you're expecting better results. For things to change, you have to change. You've all heard these sayings, okay? And that was me. That's what I did. Now, the day that this guy sat down with me, in this room I'm sat in now, and I'll thank him to this day, he wrote out a script. And to be honest, my heart was beating, because he then asked me to phone up somebody and practice it. Now I'm sat there with a script in front of me, and I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want to be doing this. But I'm so glad he did. Because when you've practiced something a few times, it becomes so natural you don't even think you're doing it. So what is the script I use? This is it in a nutshell. Let's say I'm phoning a friend of mine called John. Now this works with a total stranger in the street that you've just met, or friends, family, it doesn't matter. This is why the list is so important, because when you hear what I'm going to say, you're not asking them, you're asking them if they can help you. Now, if you know yourself, if you walked up to a total stranger in the street and you said, excuse me, could you help me? They're not going to say no. So it's very key. There's some key words he taught me. And this is what I do to this day. I go through my list and I look at it and I think, right, I'm going to phone this person. So let's say, as an example, I'm phoning a friend called John. I might not have spoken to him for a while, so if I haven't, I'll say, John, how's things? And he'll tell me, and I'll say, how's family? And he'll tell me, and I'll sit and listen, and I'll ask him how wife and kids are, how's work. And generally, when you ask people questions like how's things and how are they and how's work, they'll come back to you at some point and say, so how's things with you? Now, I generally just say, well, to be honest, that's why I was calling you. I wanted to find out how you were, but listen, I just wondered whether you might be able to help me. I'm looking for people who want to make some money, some serious money. Do you know anybody? And then shut up. Now, that is the hardest thing, to say absolutely nothing until they answer. Now, that was the script, so I'll run through it again. Listen, John, could you help me? I wondered whether you could help me. You can change it slightly, but it's very important to say that word, can you help me? Because nobody generally says no. And also you catch their attention. I'm looking for people who want to make some money, some serious money. Do you know anybody? Now you can change that bit around. You know, it could be, I'm looking for people that want to make a part-time income. I always say serious money because I don't know about you, I don't want to make a part-time income. I'm looking for a serious income. And that's what I'm looking for. People who are serious. So they will come back with two answers generally. And it is only ever two if you wait for that answer. So the first answer might be, well, I can't think of anybody right now. That's what some people say. And I just say, great. Well, listen, if you do think of anybody, you know my number, ask them to give me a call. That's it. End of conversation. Say, listen, thanks for listening. And if you do come across anybody, just ask them to give me a call. Now, this is what often happens. You've just found out that that person you're speaking to is not interested right now in making some extra or a serious income, which is great because you'd be wasting your time even trying to explain it to them. So, but this is what often happens. Just as you're about to end the call or the conversation, they'll turn around to you and say, well, come on, tell me, what is it? You see, what you've done is just created curiosity. And when people are curious, they want to know. So I just turn around if somebody says that, and I just say, well, why? Are you interested? Well, it depends what it is. That's what they say. And I'll say, well, I tell you what, give me your email and I'm going to send you some info. And there's a video on there. I want you to watch it. Now, this is really important. If I'm going to send that video, this bit, the next bit, is the most important bit. I'm going to send this person a video, and I want to know, and I will ask him, when do you think you'll be able to watch that video? And he'll tell me, well, I've got a bit of time tomorrow night. I did this the other day with a guy, and he literally said, I'll watch it now. And I said, fantastic. Well, I'll call you back in 10 minutes because the video was actually only 8 minutes long. And I did call him back. And I always do call him back because it is the most important bit, this bit, the follow-up. Because I want to find out, one, did he watch it? Two, did he get, well, sorry, let me turn that around. Sorry, the first thing I do is if I'm calling the person back, the first question I ask is, John, it's Duncan here. First of all, did you get my email? Because emails go astray. Second thing is, did he watch the video? That's what I'm going to ask him. Let me give you the two answers. If he said, one, yes, I did, or two, no, I haven't got time, because that's what you often get. So let's say he said to me, yes, I did watch it. All I'm going to say is, John, do you want to know more? That's it. Do you want to know more? Now, I'll talk about what the more is in a minute, but the other answer could be, I haven't had time. That's what so many people say. I haven't had time. This is what I'd say. John, listen, I haven't got time to chase you either. If you're serious, and you said you were serious about making some serious money, watch that video. And if you want to know more when you've watched it, give me a call back. Call me. What have I just done? It's what Carlos, his name is, said to me. It's posture. It's telling that person, I'm not chasing people. I'm not persuading you. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm looking for people who are serious. And if you haven't got time to watch a video, then watch it in your own time. And if you're serious, you call me. See, I want people chasing me, not me chasing them. So let me give you the other option, which is what I'm looking for. Let's say I phoned John and I asked him the question, John, I wonder, could you help me? I'm looking for people who want to make some serious money. Do you know anybody? And he turns around and says, yeah, I might be interested. What is it? That's what that's what you want. So let's say he then says, what is it? Do not be tempted to say, oh, it's this, it's that, because you're going to dig a deep hole for yourself, especially if you're brand new and you don't really know how to explain it. It's fatal. So all you say is, John, give me your email address. I'm going to send you a video. When do you think you'll be able to watch that video? And whatever that person tells you when they're going to watch the video, you make sure you call them back without fail. It is the most important thing. The number of times I phone people and I send the video and they watch it and then they call me back and said, somebody else sent me this. And I said, so why didn't you do anything about it? And they said, well, they never called me back. So there's a lesson. The most important thing is you are testing people, one, to see if they'll even watch the video, and two, when they have watched it, do they want to find out more? So that is it. That's the script I use. Now you can change that around. Other people use slightly different scripts. It doesn't matter. The whole point is, the objective is not to explain anything to them, not to tell them the name of the company, not that you're hiding anything. It's just curiosity. People want to know what it is you're doing. So that's the script, and I just want to finish off by saying you can use this script anywhere. So you can build on your list just by going about doing what you do every day. So if you're in a job, because I hear this so many times, people say, well, I haven't got time to do this. You have got time. It's just that you're not spending your time wisely. So I'll give you an example. I go out for a meal with my wife. We're sitting in the restaurant and we're getting served by a waiter or waitress, and they come over to serve us and I hear there's an accent. So I want to open up a conversation. So all I do is I listen and I say to the waiter or waitress, excuse me, can I ask you, where are you from? Because generally these days, most waiters or waitresses or people that work in the service industry are from Europe. Now, this is what I do. I literally say, now this is where you do have to be prepared. I say to people, excuse me, can I ask you, where are you from? So let's give an example. Let's say this is a lady I'm speaking to and she says to me, I'm from Poland. I just say, listen, you might be able to help me. I'm looking for people in Poland who want to make some money, some serious money. Do you know anybody? And they shut up and wait. Now think about the situation. Think about this person's in work. I'm sat relaxing with my wife. If I started to try and explain what this was like to her, it's one, my wife's going to get annoyed, and two, this person you're talking to is in work, so they haven't got time to stand there chatting all night. Their boss will be looking at them wondering what on earth they're doing. It's totally the wrong time. So all I do is I give them a business card. Now, just while we're talking about that, my business card just has my name, my phone number, and an email address on. It doesn't have any company. The reason is because I can give that business card to any opportunity I'm doing without having to print another card for another business if you're doing more than one. So that's all you need. So I give her my card and say, there's my card, give me a call. I'm testing her. Will she even call? Most don't. So you'd have been wasting your time explaining that business, whatever it is, to that person. You'd have totally wasted your time, their time, because they weren't that serious. So I'm testing this person. Will they even call? So let's say this person calls. Let's say her name's Joanne. Okay, so Joanne calls. She says, oh, hi, Duncan Wood. This is Joanne. Do you remember I served you in the restaurant you came into with my wife? And I say, yes, I remember. And she'll say something like, can you tell me what's this business you're doing? Now, again, don't fall into the trap. I'm not going to tell her anything. I'm just going to say, Joanne, give me your email address. I'm going to send you a video. And once you've watched that video, let me ask you this, when will you be able to watch it? So again, it's exactly the same thing. I'm testing her now. Now, she called, so she's jumped over the first hurdle, and she's proved to me she might be interested in what I'm about to show her. I don't know yet. So now I will send her the video and I will call her back when she said she watched it, exactly the same thing. I will phone her and ask her, did you get my email? Did you watch that video? If she says, I haven't had time, I'll say, listen, seriously, I haven't got time to chase you. If you spend a few minutes watching that video and you're serious, you call me back. And I take it away from them. If they say they've watched it, she's just jumped over the next hurdle. I'm one step closer to possibly finding somebody that might be serious about making sort of a change in their life. So now I will say to her, do you want to know more? Now, what is the more? This is another mistake a lot of people make. And I did it myself, I'm telling you, because this is what I've learned. The more is, I would invite them onto a webinar and listen to somebody else, or I would invite them to on a call with my sponsor. And that's what I spend all day doing. The people who have given out that video, and that person has called them and they phoned them back and they've found out that this person is interested in finding out more. They've probably got lots of questions. So then what I do is I use my upline or my sponsor, whatever you want to call it, because there's a saying, a stranger is an expert. So they've watched a video. You might have mentioned a little bit. I sometimes answer a couple of questions, that people ask. Like as an example, people often say, oh, that sounds like one of those pyramid things. The only reason people say that is they don't understand what a pyramid is. It was like in multi-level. I thought it was illegal. Then I found out what was the difference between illegal and legal. And the crazy thing is, every business, every organization is a pyramid. So people come up with questions. That's good. And they might be skeptical. That's good. Because I want them to ask questions, because it tells me one thing: they're interested. They wouldn't be asking questions if they weren't interested. So all I'm doing is leading people, getting them to jump through hurdles or go them through steps, processes, until I get to a point where they want to do this business. I hope that helps. There is not much else to say, because it is that simple. And just to finish it off, when somebody gets started in the business, I remind them what I did with them. Can you remember when I spoke to you? What did I say to you? And I remind them what I said. And then I say to them, and what did I send you? I sent you an email with a video on. Could you do that? And they suddenly realize, yeah, I could do that. You see, remember I said to you, whatever you do has to be so simple and duplicatable that anybody can do it. And that's all I do. Simple as that. So I hope that's helped. And thank you very much for listening. And if anybody wants that script, I can provide that script so you can literally practice it yourself. And once you've practiced it a few times, it'll become so natural. Just before I finish, I've just remembered something else. Very important when somebody's done the list. If you classed Richard Branson, say, as number 10, and a person that sweeps the street is a number 1, if I asked you, where would you class yourself right now? Most people would say anything from 5 or 6, okay? Now, this is another mistake people make, and I did this. People tend to go to people that they know are likely to say yes. People that maybe don't earn as much money as them, or maybe they're not as successful as them, or whatever. But they tend to go to people they think are going to say yes. And so what happens is a 5 or 6, let's say you're a 5 or 6, tends to approach a 4 or a 3, because they think, well, that they'll be easy. The people they don't approach are the 7, 8s and 9s, because those people they look up to and they think, no, they wouldn't be interested, so they don't call them. Well, the one thing I want from a person when before I work with them is their lists. Why? Because You don't need many people. Once you've got somebody else's contacts to work with, you can stop phoning up people directly yourself. You've now got a list of new people that you don't even know to work with. Now, if you allow people to go out, and to me, it's like if I was asked to go and do a new job tomorrow, let's say, it was, I don't know, car tinting, because I used to do that. It's very difficult. Do you think anybody would just suddenly allow me to go and tint a car without knowing what on earth I'm about to do? I'd make a complete mess of it. And yet people introduce people to a new business and they let them go and speak to all their contacts and they fail miserably. And the next minute, their list, which was only probably 20 or 30 names, is now down to 5 because all the others have said no to them. And can you imagine how they feel? They suddenly feel like, I'm not good at this. Nobody's interested. So they're looking at their list and it's getting less and less because they didn't do a proper list in the first place. And they're already thinking that I can't do this, and they're going to drop out. That's like sending somebody into a new job and saying, well, there we are, go and get started, and you don't teach them what to do. They're going to fail miserably. And yet people introduce people into network marketing or any business or online opportunity and let them go, and they're walking into a disaster. And people wonder why they fail. So the reason why I was telling you that, I look at somebody's lists and I say to them, if you looked at that list and you could wave a magic wand, who on that list is more successful than you, an outstanding person in society, or as an example, a person that walks into a party and they're the center of attention, or somebody that is good at public speaking, is not frightened of it? Who would you, if you could wave a magic wand, who would you pick? If you could get them in your business tomorrow, who would it be? Just give me 4 or 5 names. That's what I want to do. Now I'm going to help them do it. They won't even call them. I'll call them for them. And this is the conversation. So let's say I'm working with John. He's got his list, and on that list, he's given me 5 people to call. I'll actually have John sat with me while I do the call. And let's say there's a lady called Susan, and he wants me to call her. I don't want to even know anything about Susan because I don't want to prejudge that person. She could be, the Queen's assistant for all I don't want to know, because I will prejudge them. So I will call Susan, and this is the conversation. Let's say Susan answers the phone. Very important thing to say. Susan, can I ask you, you don't know me, my name's Duncan Ward, but I'm a friend of John's. Have I caught you a good time? Really important to say. Why? Because she might be really busy and I just called, she picked up the phone, and it's inconvenient right now. So the first thing is, have I caught you a good time? She's going to say yes or no. If she says, no, it's not good right now, I'll just say, when is the best time to call you back? So she's going to tell me. The reason why she'll talk to me is because I know John. Now, let's say she says, yes, it is convenient, it's fine. This is all the conversation goes. Susan, I don't know whether you've spoken to John lately, but we're working very closely together and I'm helping John. And I just wondered whether you might be able to help him out. We're looking for people who want to make some money, some serious money. Do you know anybody? And shut up. It's exactly the same thing. Now, this is what actually happens. Many a time I've seen this happen. John sat with me and Susan says to me something like, well, I can't think of anybody right now. And I just say, well, listen, Susan, do you know John's number? Can I give you my number? If you think of anybody or come across anybody, perhaps you could give John a call and just help him out. And I say, thanks very much for listening, and hopefully, thanks for your help. And that's it, end of conversation. We come off the phone, and I've had this happen so many times. Suddenly, John gets a call, and it's Susan. Hi, John, it's Susan here. Who's this guy, Duncan Wood, that called me, and what's this business you're doing? They're curious, they want to know. Now, I've got to teach John, don't be tempted to tell Susan what it is. If she says, if you say to her, well, Susan, are you interested? Ask her the question. She's only going to say, well, no, I'm not. Or she might say, well, what is it? Well, give me your email and I'm going to send you a video. It's exactly the same. It never changes. So I hope that helps everybody. I do this with every business, the current business I'm doing. If people want to know, well, how do I do it? That's what I do all day long. I'll do it all day long. I'll do it for somebody if they're willing to give me that list. I'll do it for them to help them get going. Why? Because if I can get them one or two people that they look up to in their business fast, they'll get some action going. And you know what? They'll stick with it and they'll keep doing it and they won't give up. Because that's the worst thing people can do is they try it, they fail and they give up and they think then that they can't do it. They can do it. Anybody can do it if they are taught right. So hope that helps, and thanks very much for listening.